Hello from nowhere. I am Kurt the gardener, and thank you for joining me today. These are my tiger lilies, and they're almost as beautiful as my wife is. And I'm glad you joined me today to hear me read some of the things that I've written and show you some of the flowers that I've grown. But really, it is not I that grows the flowers, but the flowers that grow. And in turn, I grow as they grow. This is how we exist upon this earth. And all this beautiful scenery. Look out there. Look at everything out here. This is beautiful. I get distracted every time I walk out here and look up at these pine trees. Believe me, guys, this is listen to me. You don't have to die to go to heaven because heaven is right here with you. I promise it is. And this camera is a wonderful camera, but I'm going to tell you something it doesn't do it justice to see it in person. I promise it does not. All right. So we are deep on a mountain, deep in a forest. And today I'm going to be reading to you a few things that I've written. You may not share the same opinion as me. You may not agree, and that's fine. I hope you stick around anyways, because I think a lot of people come to this channel because they like to learn how to make soil. And they like to learn about actual gardening, but at the same time I like to talk about things. We live on this planet, and it's important that we don't ever let this planet distract us with all the ugliness that it contains and that is upon it and that is on it. And instead, we focus on beautiful things like these daisies and these Persian shields and these tiger lilies. That is a beautiful flower. It fits right in here. There are like a bunch of them on there. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to take the soil from the ground below and beneath, that which connects you to this earth under your feet. Put that which enables and makes all life possible, the soil, into a bucket of water, and I want you to stir that water until you've made a tsunami-like twister and it spins before you within the confines of that bucket. Then when the storm inside that bucket settles, pour the separated water that has calmed and cleared out of that bucket. Then the most important part you must notice: the remaining contents within the container, how those contents, despite the storm within, have finally come to a screeching halt and found stable tranquility. Those contents have been torn apart, disorganized, and then reorganized, thereby becoming coherent. I want you to understand, once you stop stirring the container of yourself into a storm, then you realize it was never about soil in that bucket. It was about yourself. You were ripping apart and reorganizing through the storms of this life and your times within it. And I'd like to go into this next note. I see a lot of videos where the older generations, they attack the younger generations attack back. Nobody is perfect in each other's eyes. Nobody appears to even be somewhat satisfactory to each other. It's a non-stop rip each other apart festival on this planet, and YouTube has enabled people to broadcast all those feelings and animosity towards one another. So I see a lot of hate towards the younger ones, like Generation Z, and then it'll be Generation Alpha's turn to be a punching bag of society, and the cycle will never stop. I mean, this is nothing new under the sun, right? It's always been happening. The young blame the old blame the young, and they seldom ever see eye to eye or get along. And so I mainly wrote this after seeing and hearing about the consensus on Gen Z from the perspective of those who are not Gen Z. So I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about how Gen Z doesn't want to do trade work. That's not entitlement, that's their choice. They have found a way to make lots of money online. Some of them aren't making lots of money, but they get hassled for the ones who are making lots of money online. And I'm going to tell you something. Society is about to undergo a radical change. I've heard people say every phrase and everything conceivable to Gen Z concerning that, except for the one phrase that they actually mean to say, but is hidden inside of their insecurities. And that phrase is this: that we need you, Gen Z, to do the trade work, to keep society going. And that is what they need to say, instead of the constant barrage of attacks and derailment. And because that is the truth. And nothing is going to get done without someone doing it in the regard of plumbing, electrical, carpentry, automotive mechanics, automotive technicians, and so on and so forth, and etc. And people, instead of telling them they are needed to do that, are deciding to shame and browbeat them because they won't voluntarily do that. It's hard to go to one of these jobs every day and see someone who has been doing it for decades longer than you, and that person is miserable. And they're so miserable they can't even be sober anymore. They can't even talk about anything that isn't related to how awful their life is. Gen Z is not entitled. They just aren't stupid. They aren't worthless. They are just smart enough to see the writing upon the wall. It's not so hard to see it when the writing is literally your coworker yelling about it constantly. People are even going so far as to call them entitled for not choosing to go destroy their bodies and not have their fair share at the end of all of it to show for it. I mean, how much does a hip cost? How much does a shoulder blade cost? How much does everything on your body that will fail as a result of this type of work going to cost? How much are the tools? How much is rent? How much is everything required to show up to a job every day? And good grief, how much is food? These things are never taken into account. And if you bring it up to the employers, they act like it's not their responsibility. Well, guys, society doesn't function without order. If the richest of this society are going to be in charge and run it, they have a responsibility. It's supposed to be a team effort among everyone, or the society is just not going to last very long, and hence what everyone is referring to as late stage capitalism. People are even going so far as to call Generation Z entitled for not choosing to go destroy their body. I mean, it is not entitlement, it is choice being exercised here. Don't make any mistake about that. The great thing about America is choice. And I tell you this, if we ever lose our right to choose, you'll live to see the day forced labor returns to these shores. And, you know, I think that we've covered it pretty well today, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with another video because we're going on too long as it is. We're going on about 9 minutes, and we've all got short attention spans, right? Well, y'all have a good day, and thanks for joining me. I'm Kurt the Gardener, and please do come back to Nowhere sometime.